All right, everyone, welcome to the second annual Healthier Black Elders-Flint Symposium. This year, we're going to focus on bringing awareness to the impacts of community violence among older Black adults and a road to resilience. We're so excited to have everybody here today. Just little housekeeping notes, Q&A reminders. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat. There should be a Q&A box at the bottom of your screens, or if you have a lengthier question, please feel free to email me your question and I can follow up with your speaker that you specifically have a question for after the symposium. My email is floresed@umich.edu. All right, time to get started. So welcome. These are two PIs, Dr. Jamie Mitchell, who's the principal investigator for ROAR, which is the larger grant that helps fund Healthier Black Elders. Oh, don't need that. And then we also have Dr. Key, who will be joining us in a moment, who is our co-investigator for ROAR as well, and a native to Flint. And so we're going to have a brief welcome video from Dr. Mitchell.
Recording. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Jamie Mitchell. I am an associate professor of social work at the University of Michigan, and I am here representing the Healthier Black Elders Flint program. We are a program that was funded by the National Institute on Aging, a federal government source to provide free health programming in the Flint community, to develop a research pool of Black older adults so that we can increase the representation of Black older adults in scientific discoveries, and to partner and support the local community, especially around issues of aging. And so we are excited to have you here for our second annual Healthier Black Elders Flint Symposium. Today, we're going to be talking about bringing awareness to the impacts of community violence among Black older adults and the road to resilience. We have a wonderful lineup of community leaders, academic experts, medical experts who want to share with you information that hopefully will lift you up and encourage you, and also provide some ongoing education about these important issues. We have testimonials from some of our amazing community advisory board members, many of whom you know in the community from serving with them, working with them, fellowshipping with them, and so they will be familiar faces to you. I want to say hi to our live audience at the watch party at Hasselbrunn Community Center. Thank you so much for joining us in person, and also a special thank you to everyone who's joining us virtually. So again, we just want to thank you and let you know that there will be other programming throughout the summer and in the fall. We would love to have your contact information if you're at the in-person watch party, or you can connect with us online if you're virtual, so that we can let you know about the wonderful events that we are doing and keep you up to date with everything happening with Healthier Black Elders. So please enjoy the program today, and we thank you again for attending. Have a wonderful time. Bye.
All right, to get us started, our first speaker is going to be Ms. Tia Coles. Tia Coles is a licensed clinical social worker with a master's degree in social work from University of Michigan with an emphasis in social work and healthcare. Tia specializes in trauma therapy, having had specialized training in prolonged exposure therapy, internal family systems therapy, EMDR, TFCBT, and other evidence-based modalities focused on reducing trauma symptoms, including post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. In 2018, Tia co-developed the first Trauma Recovery Center, TRC, in Michigan, which specializes in treating victims of heinous crimes such as domestic violence, physical assault, sexual assault, child abuse and neglect, elder abuse, and human trafficking. The TRC offers free confidential help to individuals and families who have been impacted by violence. Services include immediate crisis support, ongoing mental health therapy, and other resources needed to ensure survivors have a safe and assisted path back to wellness. Tia currently serves as the director of the Trauma Recovery Center and is also the owner of Essentials Matter Matters LLC, which provides mental health services to clients. And with that, I'm going to pass it on. Just going to pin your video. All right. Please take it away.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for that amazing introduction. You make me sound so much better than I am, Elena, so thank you. I am attending another conference today, but this information is so important to the community and so needed. And so I wanted to ensure that you all had at least a brief introduction to what we're doing at Hurley to service victims in our community. Next slide, please. So what is the Trauma Recovery Center? So the chief of surgery at Zuckerberg San Francisco General said, we can sew them up, but we can't make them well. The TRC understands that health is not just the absence of injury, but treating all aspects of the human condition. The TRC supports a survivor's resilience by aggressively giving them the right combination of compassion, services, and resources. So I don't know how many of you guys are aware, but in Genesee County, at one point, we had the highest number of gunshot victims per capita in the nation with our babies, children under the age of 18. And so at Hurley, we thought, what can we do to help respond to this better? So yes, we were stitching them up, sending them out. They were coming back. We were stitching them up again. We were sending them out. They were returning yet a third time. And this time we were sending them out in body bags. And so we wanted to be able to reduce that rate. We wanted to be able to help our community, help our neighbors, because you're our neighbors. Next slide. So what is the TRC model of care? The TRC model of care was developed to provide comprehensive, high quality, effective mental health services to survivors of violent crime from underserved populations. One of our goals was to provide a safety net of services for survivors of violent crime. So we talked about the fact that we were sewing them up, right, and sending them out into the community. But we all know that injury goes beyond your physical body. So we wanted to provide a safety net, a comprehensive net of services so that we can try to maintain overall wellness. Again, in addition to this, we wanted the model to be cost effective for underserved survivors of violence, right? So that means combining outreach, clinical case management, assistance with law enforcement, trauma-informed therapy. It also means being able to provide these services at low cost or no cost to the community. Our program is no cost to the community. We don't want people to have to choose between treatment and their next meal, or treatment and paying consumers, right? Because we know that we have to meet your needs before we can meet your need, if that's understood. Next slide, please. So the model is based on being trauma informed. So we know that's a buzzword in our field. We know it's a buzzword in the community right now, but a lot of people actually don't know what it means. So trauma-informed care understands and considers the pervasive nature of trauma and promotes environments of healing and recovery rather than practices and services that may inadvertently re-traumatize. So in a nutshell, trauma-informed care is saying, what happened to you versus why are you acting like this? Next slide, please. So what do we do? So the Hurley TRC's trauma recovery is grant funded. So again, that means free. Confidential resources to help individuals in Genesee County overcome traumatic effects of violence. The program is the first in Michigan. TRCs were developed on the West Coast in San Francisco to address the gang violence there. Again, we're the first in Michigan, and so we brought it here. It's staffed by professionals dedicated to helping victims through all stages of recovery. Participants do not have to report an incident to the police or file criminal charges to access this free service. That's important because in our community, we have unfortunately adopted this mantra of, don't snitch, don't tell. And so we want people to know that reporting is not a requirement for you to access our services. Next slide. So who do we treat? Gun violence, physical assault, sexual abuse, domestic violence, child abuse, neglect, human trafficking, elder abuse, DUIs, survivors of homicide, hit and run victims. And this is where it really becomes important to this particular audience: secondary supports of any of the above victim types listed. So as we know, elders in our community, we often have generational households. And not only if we don't have generational households, we have what I like to call generational raising, right? So you're stepping in, you're helping with the grandkids and great grandkids and nieces and nephews. And sometimes when violence has impacted a family member, now all of a sudden you are not stepping in to help, but you have become the primary caregiver. And your household simply wasn't set up for that, right? Your household was not set up to now have 4 additional mouths to feed. Sometimes, because as we age, we know we all deal with different ailments. As I got out of the bed this morning, I had to step over to the side and feel that strain and say, oh, thank you, Jesus, that I can make it even with this little bit of pain. But sometimes we're dealing with severe health issues in our elderly population, and your home may not even be equipped to deal with additional bodies because of how it's set up. Or your monthly income may be going to medication, and so there is no extra. So how can we help? We provide things like emergency stabilization, victims compensation support, educational and employment support, personal protection orders. Not only do we help you fill them out, but we serve them. We do legal support and judicial assistance, law enforcement advocacy, psychotherapy, relocation and emergency shelter assistance, emergency financial assistance, transportation, home repairs, follow-up care, and community referrals. So, okay, Tia, what does that mean? That's a lot. So it could mean something as simple, for example, a lot of elderly don't like to leave their homes, even if a crime has taken place, even if for whatever reason the conditions may be unsafe now. So that may look like us coming in and replacing all the locks, right? We had an elderly person and the windows were shot out. So it looked like us going in and replacing every single window in the home, right? We have had to buy beds just because we have now an elderly person who is caring for grandchildren now on a permanent basis, and they don't have enough beds in the home. So we provide beds. Sometimes it looks like providing clothing because people come with only the clothing on their back. We also deal with elder abuse. And so sometimes that looks like finding a permanent placement, or oftentimes family members don't mean to be abusive or neglective, but they don't have specialized training. So it can look like helping that new environment for the elderly person meet the requirements needed for it to be safe and stable. It looks like sometimes paying mortgage bills. When a crime happened, it is not indicative of your social status or your economic status, right? And so there may be a loss of income because a crime has happened. Yes, as a victim of a crime, you qualify for victims' compensation, but that can take anywhere from 6 to 9 months to post. So in the meantime, consumer still wants to be paid. Your mortgage company still wants to be paid. We still have to pay cell phone bills. So we will step in and help with those needs. Oftentimes, it's just providing a cell phone. Transportation is a huge issue with our elderly population. And so we provide transportation to and from appointments, to and from mental health appointments. We provide transportation just to the grocery store if needed. Again, whatever is needed to bring stabilization. Next slide, please. So let's talk about the program timeframes. And this is important because sometimes you don't know what you need until you need it. So our program is for victims that have been impacted by a crime up to 3 years post-incident. So let's say this happened on January 1 of this year. You have until January of 2026 to receive services. If you have never been impacted, anytime you're impacted by something you've never encountered before, understand that it is going to require a different version of you to show up, a version that you've never used before. And so oftentimes we find that people will say, I got it, I can handle this, I have it under control. And they do for a short amount of time. Or something may happen to trigger them. And now all of a sudden there's a domino effect. This is why the program is designed to be a revolving door for 3 years post-incident. Also, what we will find is what we know is there's a time frame for PTSD to set in. People don't often realize that they're experiencing PTSD symptoms until we are 6, 7, 12 months down the road. They can still pick up the phone and call this program. Other times we have people who are a secondary victim. So it did not happen within their household. It did not even happen to, let's say, an immediate family member. But all of a sudden, your great nephew, let's say, was killed. And you're being impacted by that. You're losing sleep. You are afraid to go down certain streets or into certain neighborhoods. We can help with those things. You don't have to be directly impacted to be impacted. And as long as you are impacted, you qualify. Next slide. So let's talk about how to make a referral to the TRC. You can reach us by calling the care coordinator's office. I want you to know that we are staffed Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. Care coordinators, think of them as like a case manager or a navigator or a social worker. Their office is located in the emergency department of Hurley. So you can call them 810-262-7349. If for some reason you are unable to call or you are at our emergency department, just ask for a TRC coordinator. They will send someone to the room. You can also reach out to us by calling the lead care coordinator's office. That is also our main line, 810-262-7340. Someone will respond to you within 48 hours. Generally, we respond the same day, but we like to give that window. And then you can reach us by email at hurleytrc@hurleymc.com. Just provide the victim's name and contact information. The name is just so we know who we're calling back. Again, we will respond within 48 hours. If for some reason you leave a message and it is not safe for us to call you back and say we're calling from the TRC, please leave that in the voicemail. We will simply call and say that we are calling regarding an appointment at Hurley Medical Center. We are a staple in the community. So most times people don't question when you get a phone call from Hurley. We make that known for anybody that is in an abusive situation so that we are not calling or communicating and causing more harm. I think that may be the last slide, Elena, but next slide, please. I was right. So thank you for your time and attention. So listen, if the TRC can be of service to you, please do not hesitate to reach out. Hurley Medical Center, Trauma Recovery Center is here to help. What I will say is, if you don't know if you qualify, call, right? We will tell you. And if you don't qualify, we're going to do our very best to connect you with resources in the community that you do qualify for. The only reason you may not qualify is if it is a trauma unrelated to a crime, right? That does not include hit and runs. That does not include car accidents where there was a drunk driver involved, right? Those are crimes. What I will tell you is I named some of our big ones a few slides back, but really anything that the Department of Justice qualifies as a crime usually qualifies you for services. So at least reach out and give us the opportunity to respond and see if we can get you connected in some kind of way. Thank you so much for your time. I hope that this was helpful to you. Please, please, please reach out if you have questions. If you feel like you are a part of an organization that needs to hear this information, please reach out so that we can set up a one-on-one presentation for your organization. Thank you so much.